keeping up with the emerging challenges in the water sector, MWA has taken a bold move to introduce a new international water event, that is the Malaysia International Water Convention, or in short, MIWC, with the objective of establishing a niche conference to position itself among its peers in the overly crowded traditional water shows and conferences we see today around the world.
Bearing the theme Advancing Innovation, Embracing Transformation, Securing the Future, the conference brings together renowned experts in water and wastewater, academia, regulators, practitioners, and young water professionals from several parts of the world. This gathering emphasizes our collective agreement on how important water is at the global level.
The event has some good talks and good opportunities to develop business.
At least now we know the direction of the Malaysian government with regards to sustainability of water.
Meet our existing customers and potential customers and key stakeholders in the Malaysian water market.
Definitely the show you must participate in Asia, the big hub for non-revenue water solution.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us now invite Mr. Muhammad Hairi Basri for Doa recitation.
Thank you, Dr. Hayati. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Let's start reciting the Al-Fatiha. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanirrahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa 'azimi sultanik. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد صلاة تنجينا بها من جميع الأهوال والآفات وتقضي لنا بها من جميع الحاجات وتطهرنا بها من جميع السيئات وترفعنا بها عندك على الدرجات وتبلغنا بها أقصى الغايات من جميع خيرات الحياة وبعد الممات. اللهم يا مؤنس كل وحيد ويا صاحب كل فريد ويا قريبا غير بعيد ويا شهيد غير غائب ويا غالب غير مغلوب يا حي يا قيوم يا بديع السماوات والأرض. اللهم إنا نسألك باسمك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحي القيوم الذي لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم ونسألك باسمك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحي القيوم الذي أنس له الوجوه وخشعت له الأصوات ووجلت من خشية القلوب أن تصلي على محمد وعلى آل محمد وأن تجعل لنا من أمري فرجا ومخرجا وأن تقضي لنا حاجاتنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, perkenankan usaha kami bersempena dengan pelancaran Konvensyen Air Antarabangsa MIWC 2021 dan buku bertajuk MIWC Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for Water Supply System. Kami mohon kepadamu, Ya Allah, supaya MIWC 21 dan buku kami dapat menyumbang kepada pembangunan industri air negara yang mampan dan berdaya maju. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Allahumma khtim lana ya Allah bi husnil khatimah wa la takhtim alaina ya Allah bi su'il khatimah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Hairi Basri, for the Doa recitation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us now invite Dr. Engineer Haji Muhammad Asari bin Daud, President of the Malaysian Water Association, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Nohayati, our MC for this morning. I would like to thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. Yang berbahagia Datuk Sri IR Zani bin Ujang, Secretary General of Ministry of Environment and Water, delegates and sponsors of the Malaysian International Water Convention, MIWC 2021, the editorial team of MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practice Handbook for Water Supply System, council members of the Malaysian Water Association, distinguished members of the Malaysian Water Association, Tan Sri Datuk, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. On behalf of the Malaysian Water Association, we are honored to have the presence of Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Engineer Dr. Zaini bin Ujang, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Environment and Water, to be with us, an esteemed promoter of sustainability and environment. This is again one of the many occasions that Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri R. Dr. Zaini has been kind to allocate his invaluable time of his very tight daily schedule to meet up, even on virtual platform, with the stakeholders and water industry players in a number of programs that MWA had organized, and willing to share his vast experience of the industry and future outlook. For this, on behalf of the industry, I would like to say a big thank you, terima kasih, and jazakallah khair to Datuk Sri. This morning, auspicious event comprises two important events, which Datuk Sri Zaini had graciously agreed to officiate and launch. The first event is the soft launch of the Malaysia International Water Convention 2021 or in short, MIWC 2021. This is a virtual conference and exhibition which will take place from 20th to 24th September 2021. It is organized by the MWA together with our partner ProTem Group to thank the Ministry of Environment and Water for the continuous support. Similarly, we wish to thank the government agencies, regulator, the water utilities, the universities, our institutional members, our sponsors, and members for the support toward the success of MIWC 2021. I would also like to mention our gratitude and thanks to the organizing committee comprising of MWA members and ProTem, headed by Engineer T.S. Haji Muhammad Hanifa, who had worked hard to ensure this big event a success. Tan Sri, Dato', ladies and gentlemen, the Malaysian International Water Convention, or in short MIWC, is a technical conference for water practitioners, including academia, to share professional insights and applied solutions for the industry. Together with the virtual conference is the virtual exhibition, which is planned to be a comprehensive water and environment trade exhibition showcasing the latest innovation and technology on water and wastewater solutions and management. On the sideline, some technical sessions and business fora which feature emerging opportunities in the key markets. We are delighted to invite everyone in the water industry, both local and abroad, to book the date in September and to join MWA members, stakeholders, utility leaders, decision makers, professionals, academicians, and all those involved in the water fraternity for this MIWC 2021, which is the highlight of the water calendar for this year. A very comprehensive program for the MIWC has been arranged, and we hope you will avail yourself a copy and sign up as a participant as soon as possible. Your presence will surely make the event more meaningful and memorable to us. The MWA will continue to provide technical leadership in the water sector with your support, and we will see stakeholders involved in presenting papers at both national and international conferences. Through the MIWC 2021, we look forward to utilizing these latest advances in technology, research, and innovations and showcases in the exhibition to develop and advance practical solutions for our water industry. Tan Sri Dato', ladies and gentlemen, the second event is the launching of the MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for water supply systems. This is the latest publication by the MWA, and it will be published into volumes. The MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for Water Supply System, or in short, I call it MWA Guidelines, is published following the very successful and popular publication, bestseller probably, of the water industry, of the earlier MWA Design Guidelines for Water Supply System, published in 1994. Over the time, however, new technologies in the design of water supply system has evolved. A lot of experience has been gained, and new issues such as climate change and cost-effective methods of planning that have necessitated the revision of the earlier version of the guidelines and the decision for a new and updated version. We all know very well it's imperative for a water supply system to follow stringent planning guidelines and good design, which are essential for the effective and sustainable service delivery. The scope of these MWA guidelines is to establish uniform planning concepts for water supply system design and to establish framework for professional engineers to consistently review design documents. The MWA editorial team has considerable experience in undertaking the design for water supply system in Malaysia, and the association would like to take this opportunity to share their experience with the industry on the very needful yet important aspect of design of a resilient and sustainable water supply system as manifested in the MWA guidelines. Last but not least, I'm pleased to mention that the process of formulating this new publication has been initiated and developed by a team of local engineers and professionals who had worked together to come up with a document. On behalf of the Malaysian Water Association, I would like to extend my congratulations and heartfelt thanks to each members of the team for volunteering their time and their dedication in contributing to the success of the MWA guidelines. Lastly, on behalf of the association, I would like to again express my heartfelt thanks to Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Zaini bin Ujang for gracing our event today, and also to all of you viewers online and our supporters for making this event a success. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, Datuk Seri Zaini, our KSU, will be launching this book, MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for Water Supply Systems. I would like to thank Datuk Seri for willing to officiate and also launch this book this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Engineer Haji Muhammad Asari bin Daud, for the welcoming remarks. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with great pleasure, let us now invite our guest of honor, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang, Secretary General, Ministry of Environment and Water, to deliver his opening remarks and officially launch the Malaysia International Water Convention 2021 and the MWA Handbook on MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for Water Supply Systems. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri, please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang berusaha Dr. Engineer Haji Muhammad Asari Daud, President of the Malaysian Water Association, distinguished guests, water utility CEOs, captains of industry, sponsors, exhibitors, and members of MWA, and delegates to the Malaysian International Water Convention. Ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Malaysian Water Association for inviting me to officiate the soft launch of the Malaysian International Water Convention 2021 and the launch of the newly published MWA entitled MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for Water Supply Systems. I am indeed pleased to be present among the water professionals and experts both from Malaysia and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go through some ideas that we have in mind, not only me personally, but also ministry as a whole. We have endless challenges at the moment, from water sources to water-related risk. On water sources, we are still discussing in Malaysia insufficiency of water for treatment, for drinking purposes, as well as for other purposes. And at the same time, we are combating pollution of water resources. And this is not only in Malaysia, but in many places of the world. In Malaysia, we are having difficulties not only from nutrient-based pollution, but also from discharges, illegal dumping of scheduled waste that reported from time to time. On water supply, the main issue in Malaysia at the moment is on tariff structure, which is unsustainable.
Number one. Number two, high NRW, exceeding 60% in some states, low reserve margins, and access to rural areas for water services. And at the same time, on sewerage sector that we have to deal with at the moment, largely on financial model, on unsustainable tariff that we had since more than 20 years ago, and small and substandard individual septic tanks that we need to discharge from time to time, and some of them to connect it to the sewer line, public sewer line. At the same time, on water-related risk is going to be more prominent in the future, that we have at the moment issues like climate change. We have also issues related to poor and very aging infrastructure that need to be replaced. Therefore, I think before we move forward, as I mentioned earlier, as a water professionals, we must be able to convince public at large and politicians and policymakers that increasing tariff to make it more sustainable to reflect the actual cost of services is a good thing. People at large think that any increase in water tariff will be bad for the people, will be bad for the industry, will be bad for the country. But in reality, and we have shown in many studies that conducted around the globe, that having sustainable water tariff will ensure the sustainability of the water sector. And we know that Malaysia, for example, in terms of tariff structure at the moment is cheaper, much cheaper than countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and Laos. We are slightly higher than Cambodia, Brunei, and Myanmar. You just imagine if we are not able to correct and adjust this tariff through TSM, tariff setting mechanism that we started to discuss. It will impact the revenue of the water operators. And as a result, they are not going to invest long-term. A bigger investment required, say, for example, for replacing old pipes, for upgrading water treatment plants that are mostly now aging in many states. Yeah, so this is something that we have issues related to lack of investment and income lower than costs, as well as not fixing non-revenue water become impossible in this situation, except through public funding or subsidy, which is not going to happen because I think the investment of federal government at the moment is more on water resources and in rural area. As a result, we experience a lot of frequent water supply interruptions. So this is the trade-off that we have to convince people. So I'm saying, as Secretary General of a ministry, when I say that we have to convince people, means that we have to convince our consumers, our political masters, and everyone, stating the adjustment of the tariff by 10% or 20% will ensure that water operators have more access to funding as well as able to invest. This is, I think, a crucial message. And as a result, with better and more efficient water sector, the cost of operation will be cheaper. Non-revenue water will be lower with investment appropriately. So let me inform you, instead of our plan by 2020 in the 11th Malaysian plan to have water consumption at 180 litre a day per capita, we have shown that it is exceeding what we have forecasted. Say, for example, in a state like Pulau Pinang, it is exceeding 300 liter day per capita in 2020. And in Negeri Sembilan is from 260 in 2019 became 282 in 2020. Places like Selangor compared to 2016, 231 liter day per capita, it became 260. So overall, by not adjusting our tariff structure properly, people are enjoying cheap water, and there is less consideration on preserving water, conserving water. And then we have to produce a lot of water for them. And it requires us to cut more trees, to have dams, to have more piping system in place, to have more reservoirs in place, because we have to provide water at higher volumes per capita at a lower rate. And as a result, non-revenue water is not improving at all. I give you an example in places like Pahang, or places like, I just take arbitrary Kedah, Negeri Sembilan, say for example, non-revenue water is improving from 44 to 31%. But overall, it is not achieving our target by 2025 that we are going to achieve 25% of NRW. Looking at the number now, within 4 years, it is almost impossible for us to achieve 25%. We congratulate state like Penang, but despite Penang is good, but NRW in 2020 is higher and higher, from 18.4% in 2011 to 23.5% in 2020. Nationally, we are maintaining at 36.7% or 36%. So it shows that things are not improving, that we have to look into this very seriously. And the same thing happening to sewerage sector. The current tariff is too low. I think we are lower than places like Taipei, Beijing, Zamboga. Of course, much cheaper than Singapore. Yeah, we are 10% of the price of sewerage services in Singapore. So it means that the sector has less money to spend on their own. It requires assistance by government through subsidy. And when it comes to the situation like COVID at the moment, government has little money to spend, and as a result, public spending on this sector will be affected. So I'm very grateful that Malaysia International Water Conference 2021 has bring forward the issue of better management through embracing innovation. And then this is something that I would like to discuss, and there are 3 items major for us to consider. One is to increase investment in water-related innovation, intensify role of research and development and innovation in water, and enhancing transformational capabilities of human capital in this water system, water industry ecosystem. So by doing that, we will have our triple bottom line, people, prosperity, and planet to be served, to ensure that sustainable water management can be established. Let me put this: in order for us to reach the situation of sustainability or environmental sustainability, we require 4 main components. One is sound environmental policy. The second is ecological needs. We are not talking about the needs of the people alone, but we need to talk about ecological needs. What is ecologically sound for people to consume? We require also greening task and philosophy, or environmental philosophy, you call it ecosophy. So by having these 4 components and overlapping them together, we will be able to understand how can we create a culture where environmental sustainability is important. Why environmental sustainability? Because as reported by the latest intergovernmental panel on climate change last 3 days, it shows that we are in the state of emergency to act to protect the environment, to protect the planet overall. And in order to do that, we have to ensure that our needs, our progress, our growth sector is sustainable. And this is what we require. The ministry has very focused roadmaps moving forward from 2020 to 2030. And we base our strategy on 4 thrusts. One is empowered governance. Second is green growth. Fourth is strategic collaboration. And the fourth one is inclusivity. When we talk about our collaboration with professional organizations such as MWA, we are seriously considering this is part of our strategic collaboration as well as our inclusivity. So we would like our professionals to be heard, their voice to be heard, and not only that, their views to be taken seriously in order to move forward. And this is something that I would like to ensure all parties that the administration of the ministry will be seriously considering issues that bring forward by MWA and the rest. Therefore, in line with future development through Sustainable Development Goals and Wawasan Kemakmuran Bersama 2030, Malaysia water sector is trying to transform. Then I think we are finalizing the documents towards 2040. So there are 4 phases that I would like to share with you. One is to accelerate integrated water resources management implementation. This is until 2025. And phase 2, we would like to developing indigenous technology to be on par with international standards. Phase 3, we are achieving economies of scales. And phase 4, we would like to become a regional hub for water industry. And this is doable because Malaysia has all the components. I will share with you later in other engagement the achievement that we have done, is especially in sectors such as centralization of sewer network or sewerage services. In Malaysia, we are at par with most developed countries in urban area, where we are now achieving almost 80% coverage in urban area. So this is national policy related to climate change and environment. I keep on stating climate change because our main issue related to water must be addressed together with climate change. And this is very important. At the moment, there is no requirement for climate change for water operators. But in the future, we will be asking, or we will be monitoring the carbon emission from water sector as well. We know that waste sector, including sewerage, contribute 8% to the Malaysian emissions of greenhouse gases that we reported in our biennial update report in 2020. Yes, so this is very important for us to ensure that waste sector is not producing. And if you look into the whole sector in terms of energy consumption, 40% of the expenditure of water operators are mainly for electricity. And electricity in Malaysia is about 50%, more than 50% at the moment are based on fossil fuel. So you just imagine we are producing greenhouse gases through waste processes, where carbon dioxide, methane produced through biological wastewater processes, as well as the energy required for that processes and for water transfer, water treatment, water pumping and whatnot. Yeah, so this is very important. So in 22, we had our first national policy on the environment. This is to be reviewed. We have called for tender to be finalized this month to review this after 20 years. We have also Dasar Teknologi Hijau Negara, Green Technology National Policy, and we have also Climate Change Policy and Green Technology Master Plan up to 2030. And recently we put forward our agenda on environmental sustainability by 2030. We have revised our national determined contribution. This is our contribution to reduce climate change. To reduce greenhouse gases emissions. And this is something that we are very proud of, because we were able to increase our contribution by 10%. And by 2022, the long-term low emission development strategy will be put forward. So let me congratulate MWA first on the publication of MWA Planning Guidelines and Best Practices Handbook for Water Supply Systems. This is Volume 1. Mainly to balance between cost efficiency, sustainable investment, and stakeholder expectation. So as I mentioned, on cost efficiency, it must have high quality infrastructure, compliance with the best practices, adaptive towards issues of concern, comprehensive reference for ensuring quality, risk efficiency, and effectiveness. This includes financial efficiency and enhanced governance and security. As I mentioned, we made some amendment to this year. When we started about a year ago, we had only 28, but now we have 30 components in it. We include additional 2. But if I look, I focus into water sector, there are a lot of things we have to do. One is to reduce our NRW to 20%. At the moment, 36%. And it was 36% for 10 years. Yeah, so this is something that we have to seriously think how best we can do it. And for us at the ministry, we think that the critical success factor is the financial. NRW should be the responsibility of the water operators, and government give a lot of incentive, a lot of funding, matching grants, say, for example, but yet it is not improving. Largely, I think because of the tariff is not sustainable. So investing in NRW is very costly and it's very risky as well, without able to capture the value in terms of high pricing of water distributed. Water consumption, we are now having up to 300 liter day per capita. By 2030, it should be 160. So these are issues that water operators must think how best we can do it. I know that by reducing water consumption means less money, less revenue for water operators. But if the water tariff is higher, 160 equals to 210, say, for example, in terms of revenue. But we have less to spend. We have less to sacrifice. There is no new dam to be built. And as a result, it will impact our green report card. Then this is not good from ecological perspective. We have to think seriously how we can ensure that the whole system is financially sustainable in the form of full cost recovery. I think at the moment, SPAN, not only technical regulator, but also financial regulator. And then this is something that we would like to enhance from time to time. Of course, it requires TSM, tariff setting mechanism, to be in place first. Urban sewerage connection at the moment is 80%. This is very impressed. Many people very impressed with this result. The urban sewerage connection, I think, has achieved 80% due to two policies. One is a requirement in new development to provide sewerage network. Second is after 20 years, we upgrade them through rationalization of plants. So it is no longer the responsibility of the operators or of the developer. It is the responsibility of the ministry, and that is what we are trying to do at the moment. So therefore, I think it is doable, and this is something we can very, I think, satisfied with the result. In fact, urban sewerage connection in Malaysia is higher than in Japan, in countries like United States. Yeah, if you want to shout about Malaysian water management, I think we can. One of them is urban sewerage connection. Yeah, and places like Thailand, Indonesia, they have less than 5%. Water reclamation in Malaysia, we try to increase from 0 at the moment. I'm talking about water reclamation from sewage sector. I'm not talking about from industrial sector. From sewage sector, it will be planned for 1,500. Whatever plants or regional sewage treatment plant in the future must include water reclamation components. And we have started planning for a few in 12th Nation Plan and 13th Nation Plan to have that in place. In fact, with the present industrial water, it is doable for IWK and water operators to go on themselves, yeah, without government support. I congratulate both IWK and Syarikat Air Selangor for their investment of 600 million to get reclaimed water. And we will be able to table amendment to the WASIA, Water Services Industry Act, to include reclaimed water as one of the components. At the moment, it is not defined in WASIA. Flood risk management, greater protection, alternative water resources, water grid, which is very important. And we have started, say, for example, thinking of phase 2, Langat 2, we want to have component of water grid in the system. So this to ensure that whenever you have issues with one big water treatment plant, the population served will be supplied by the neighboring water treatment plant. At the moment, it's not connected. So we want to connect through water grid. Places like Singapore or in Tokyo in particular, you have never experienced water disruption. Why? Because the water grid is in place. Taking into consideration energy sector in the country, electricity, say for example, we have now completed our second grid in Peninsular Malaysia. So anything happen to the first outer grid, the inner grid will be able to support. And this is something that we would like to recommend. And finally, I think what's big thing that we have put forward, and then this will be putting in place shortly, is on raw water pricing based on water quality. At the moment, we are the price of raw water is between two states. It depends on them to agree. But we would like to have a system in place. If the water quality is higher, the price of water will be more expensive. Yeah, so this encourage states to look after the water resources to ensure that not only it is clean for them, for their country, for their states, but also if they were to sell to other states, the pricing is at a premium price. So this is my final slides. Moving forward until 2040, we expected more than 200 billion to be invested in water sector. And then we will hoping that more than 50% of them coming from private sector through various initiatives. At the moment, water resources is 100% federal government through DE, development expenditure. Water supply services is through loans from PAH and Grand Capital Market. Sewerage sector is all from DE, and water-related risk is also from DE. So in the future, we want to mix the financing model to have waters, to have government, funding as well as commercial, public, and co-financing. So these are issues that we have put forward, and it's already at the stage of final drafting to ensure that in 12 Nation Plan, moving forward, we will be able to change the present financing model into a mixed financing model in water sector. And as I mentioned, it requires more. We require more than 200 billion. If you thinking of dams, some dams are more than 70 years of age, require repairs and probably to change some structures that we need to ensure it is safe, not only to the water sector, but also to the people around it. So finally, I would like to urge all of you to work closely with the ministry as we formulate and implement the new strategic plans under the 12 Nation Plan and Water Strategic WST, Water Strategic Transformation 2040 to better the water sector in Malaysia. I'm confident that we will achieve our objectives with your help and assistance and your shared desire to get the job done. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate exhibitors, participants to sign up for this event. And soon, I know that we are in water industry, we mutually benefit from your presence. I hope for the MW guidelines will also have your support as it's written by the industry, for the industry, from the people who understand the industry. And again, I would like to encourage everyone, please support Malaysia International Water Conference 2021 with your participation. And to the exhibitors who have not yet signed up, please do so as soon as possible. And finally, Shabas to Malaysian Water Association for the great contribution. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang for the opening remarks and the official launch.
Okay. Now we would like to invite Secretary General of the Ministry of Environment and Water yang berbahagia Datuk Seri Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang with President of the Malaysian Water Association yang berusaha Dr. Engineer Technologist Haji Muhammad Asari Daud to start the Q&A session. Audience is invited to key in questions in the Q&A chat box. Thank you.
Okay, terima kasih kepada Amira, MC kita pagi ini. Thank you very much. Datuk Seri, Datuk-Datuk, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, ladies and gentlemen. I think you have enjoyed the montage of and also the highlights of the event that's going to come after this, the MIWC 2021 Malaysian International Water Convention. I think we have been very excited to meet all of you in MIWC. Datuk Seri ada sini, Datuk Seri?
Ada. Ni
Okay,
kenapa tak boleh, saya tak boleh, muka tak boleh keluar ni?
Tolong bantu ya bagi Datuk Seri. Saya harap you can see my face and I hope Datuk Seri pun
Ada.
ya,
Okay.
there you are. Okay, Datuk Seri, terima kasih kerana melapangkan masa untuk sesi Q&A ini. Saya amat berasa gembiralah kerana Datuk Seri dalam kesibukan mesyuarat dapat memberikan masa untuk kita. I have to be very fast because Datuk Seri is very busy. So I think there was a technical question from Mr. Robert Heng. I think that is going to be answered later. It's more on technicality, which I will try to answer. It's more pertaining to span. So the question is on booster pumping station. It is actually, there was a suggestion by Mr. Robert that the suction tank to be bigger than the elevated tank for the reason of constructing elevated tanks is more expensive. So I think that could be considered because I think the decision why we have the elevated tank higher because we are also worried of the reliability of the treatment, the pumping station, I mean the power supply, whatever. So I think with the improvement in the power supply, improvement in the efficiency of the pumping station, then probably this could be considered. I think this is going to be taken up by the SPAN under the UTG, Uniform Technical Guidelines. So there will be amendments if it is found to be timely for us to do that. Okay, Dr. Sri, I have few questions. I think I have watched your presentation just now. I think I would like to congratulate you for very informative. I think everybody is asking for the slide, Dr. Sri.
Slide will be made available. Okay.
That is Dr. Sri lah. He's very resourceful person, willing to share anytime. So I think the secretariat will be trying to get back to you all the slides and later. So I think you don't have to worry about a few chapters and also Q&A about that. So however, I would like to raise one question to Sri pertaining to the tariff setting mechanism, because I think this is something a very big challenge to the industry. How can MWA be involved? Can MWA have a active participation towards promoting this system?
Okay, we have to. It's already submitted at various level to cabinet, and then you know that increasing tariff is something very difficult, especially from political point of view. So, and then I took this responsibility to present the cabinet. So only 2 papers throughout my career as KSU of this newly formed ministry to be invited and to present to cabinet. Satu tentang BUR Biennial Update Report on Climate Change, yang kedua tentang TSM. So I was with CEO SPAN masa tu present to cabinet, and I mean no one say TSM is not good. but the question is when. And at the time whether it is correct or not dan sebagainya. So saya fikir kalau kita nak influence the political decision, all MWA members must try to get our political leaders at various level.
At all levels,
At all levels. Kita punya promosi sekarang ni ialah tariff setting mechanism should be apolitical. Kalau kita politikkan dia, and then the effect will be water professionals. Yeah. So I personally think that it should be apolitical, and this is apa yang MWA kena buat. MWA mungkin kita lepas ni MWA boleh buat 10 slide kenapa TSM is good from people and professional point of view, from sectors point of view. Daripada penggiat-penggiat bidang air ni sendiri, you are suffering because you are not able to be bankable, whatever apa tu proposal you make. Itu yang saya fikir kalau boleh, dan kita bagi tahu bukannya kata kita ni mewakili kerajaan ke ataupun apa. Saya fikir siapa-siapa pun bila tengok keadaan industri air kita, jawapan yang pertama nak baiki ialah better tariff system. Itu jawapan yang pertama. Yang lain-lain tu kemudian. You nak buat teknologi baru ke, nak buat efficient ke, nak tukar pipe ke, nak apa. That will be after a new tariff setting mechanism being set and being approved. Yeah, so this is no longer state issue. This is a federal government issue, and it's beyond me. I try my best. Kalau lah apa saja arahan telah diberi, saya akan buat apa saja. I never stop trying this, and then sampai sekarang tak. In fact, kita akan buat nota kepada Jemaah Menteri balik lah, memaklumkan perkembangan yang berlaku.
Datuk Seri, I think you were involved very instrumentally on the restructuring dulu zaman Lim Keng Yek. I still remember the beginning. So I think that was actually the whole battle is actually as interesting as what we're talking now, TSM. So mungkin kita boleh emulate some of the step that Datuk Seri has taken.
Okay, apa yang kita buat dulu, kita tengok third party punya voice. Say for example sekarang ni kita minta, say for example bukan lagi kementerian ni nanti orang kata okay lah, you nak senang kerja you tak nak cari duit untuk rakyat. So kita kena cari MWA equivalent professionals, individual professionals. At that time I was individual professional masa 2005, 2004. Jadi I memang almost every alternate week we will be invited. We were invited lah to speak on various issues lah, largely to explain about the role of operators in the future. Mana operators lah be accessible to funding, bla bla bla. Tapi pending kepada tarif yang sesuai. Sebab kita telah buat dalam sektor tenaga, as I mentioned many times. If you want to emulate, you don't have to emulate Singapore, whatever. Tengok sektor tenaga Malaysia. Sektor tenaga was one of the best in the world in terms of cutting edge technology. Why? Because the tariff setting is very flexible and with 8% profit margins ready in the system. So dengan cara macam tu, kalau lah ada turbine baru 64%, 65% instead of 42%, the first country to be visited by all these manufacturers will be Malaysia. Name it lah, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Rayon, apa semua syarikat-syarikat besar yang buat turbine ni, yang harga satu turbine tu 250 juta tau. Kita boleh buat disebabkan oleh tarif kita berpadanan. Ya. So itu yang saya fikir, dan kita kena jelaskan juga TSM ni bagi mereka yang miskin dapat free cuma. So dalam tarif electricity sekarang ni RM40 ke bawah, you are B40 free. So itu hujah kita nanti, bukannya kita naikkan harga kepada semua orang. Bila harga naik, orang lebih berhati-hati. Sekarang ni, say for example, people have no interest to reduce water consumption, to conserve water. Why? Because water is so cheap. It's not a factor. In your monthly
in the cost actually. Macam Datuk Seri sebut tadi tentang the poor will be actually exempted, something like that, and then we are actually looking for the corporate and also the commercial sector, which is actually now enjoying that sort of constraint. So I think that is something that we need to do. I think perjalanan belum selesai lagi, Datuk Seri.
Yeah. So this is very important. Adjusting tariff, not necessarily making people poorer. We are making people more responsible, and they might be paying less in the future because they reduce water consumption, and at the same time, water resources in the country will be preserved. So we are not extracting as much as what we are doing now. That's the argument yang kita kena tu lah.
Yes.
Bukan maknanya orang akan sekarang ni bayar RM50 akan bayar RM120. Dia akan bayar mungkin RM60 ataupun bawah pada tu. So there are many ways in order to reduce water consumption.
Satu lagi Datuk Seri sebut tadi secara ringkas on the water hub. Can we have some more insights of that water hub, Datuk Seri?
Okay, water hub will be later lah. Kita, as I mentioned many times, countries like Singapore or Japan, they are small country relative to population. Yeah. So in order to do many things, it's much easier for them because they don't have poorer people to be served, and then more advanced state of, say for example, industry, so that they can go for more efficient water utilization. So water hub ni kita ada complete setting. Kita ada rural area, kita ada semi-urban, kita ada dan kita ada kejayaan yang paling besar. Satu kejayaan yang paling besar kita mesti ingat ya, in term of sewerage connectivity, we are among the highest in the world. Sewerage connectivity. As I mentioned many times, saya tengah finalisekan saya punya buku dengan Dr. Ching dengan the rest ni. It's about 80% in urban area, and this is higher than many places, including Japan. So we have to stand tall, telling people this is what we have done. Kita jangan, itu isu yang saya fikir yang sangat besar untuk kita highlight.
Kemudian Datuk Seri, dari segi kesediaan water apparatus menghadapi climate change ni, will there be some national level punya movement ke ataupun promotion? Majlis Tindakan Perubahan Iklim, MIWC, Malaysia Climate Change Action Council, tu has been set up in April. It is quite recent lah, saya fikir. And then we realized that waste sector contribute 8%. Out of 80% too, I believe that sewerage is about 4%. Yeah, it's very significant contribution. And if you think of water sector overall, 40% of our expenditure is after electricity. So the moment you use electricity, you are part of the equation. So this is something that we have to look into. Akan datang ni kita cari cara macam mana supaya water transfer tu kita optimize proper. If we can have built-in small micro turbine or something like that in order to generate electricity for that particular operation. So that will be what we have in mind to be made mandatory and available. Yang keduanya, semua sewage treatment plant akan datang ni dia mesti ada component energy. So if possible, in many countries in the world, including Japan in particular, dia kata kalau sewage treatment plant tu, you have enough resources to produce your own energy. Yep.
Yeah, so this is something that we have to look into.
Okay, satu lagi Dr. Sri on energy lah. This one more just a comment from me. Actually, most of our infrastructure ni are aging, and the rate of deterioration of efficiency is a lot. I think that one I emphasize in my thesis. The drop in efficiency is so much. So I think we should also look into high efficiency equipment as much as we want to look at high efficiency water conservation. So I think that is something that we should actually put together.
I think it's very important. Itu yang saya sebutkan tadi. Moving forward until 2040, the study that we have conducted requires more than 200 billion ringgit Malaysia investment in water sector. 200 billion tau. Every Malaysia plan ni we require 50 billion minimum. Itu dengan mengambil kira tidak perlu mengganti perkara yang besar, contohnya sebahagian dam yang dah ada. Tapi kita tahu banyak dam pecah sekarang ni. Yang baru ni kat China pecah. Ya, dam kecil di China. Lepas tu ada dam yang pecah kat Jerman. You just imagine because of climate change tu menyebabkan struktur tanah berubah dan sebagainya. And then it was not calculated when it was built about 70, 80 years ago. The fact, I mean, benda-benda macam tu. Jadi saya fikir perkara ni kena diperteguhkan, dan saya cukup bila saya nak kita dah dalam proses nak finalize report tu, saya fikir perkara ni sangat penting lah. Jadi terasnya ialah TSM, so that it can be made available untuk tarif related. Yang non tarif related kita akan cari cara bagaimana supaya we go beyond BE budget. So for example macam PFI version 3 or version 4, bukan lagi PFI macam dulu you waiting for money from government. Kita kena cari cara lah supaya lebih kreatif lagi dari segi pendanaan. Contohnya, I give you an example lah. This is just one example. Kita nak buat taps. So we have to work together with developers, that the developers will be able to put aside 100 acres of land or 200 acres of land for taps, and then they build houses around it. And then the way they get money from water operators is by selling the amount of water that they sell. So developers make money, infra money from the property, and at the same time for operation they get money from selling the water to the water operators. So the government tak payah keluar duit untuk taps lah. Kita mungkin bagi tax break ke something like that, to allow that to be bankable.
And that's a very good innovation.
I mean, so kita kena fikir luar kotak lah, tak boleh lagi fikir nak duit sebab dalam keadaan sekarang ni terlampau banyak diperlukan. Dan sangat mahal kos sekarang ni disebabkan oleh faktor-faktor COVID-nya dengan faktor-faktor peningkatan harga dan sebagainya.
Ada satu soalan Datuk Seri, tapi soalan ni pun Datuk Seri pun dah jawab. Cuma maybe lah just a little bit more emphasis on this. Dia tanya tentang has the ministry and MIWC engaged the public on this. So maybe Datuk Seri ada satu plan lain. On the tariff.
Oh, kita dah tarif. Kita dah jumpa berbelas ribu orang dah.
I think so lah. Ada few sections
saya tak tahu berapa belas ribu orang yang kita dah berjumpa. Kita dah bercakap dengan semua orang. Tarif tu bukan tarif yang memaksa. Tarif tu memberi dorongan kepada semua pihak supaya conserve water. And we know that we are, as the data that I have shown, instead of reducing to 180, we are now shooting more than 300 sekarang ni. Ya, overall dah jadi 247 miligram liter day per capita dah. So this is exceeding our target. So kena gunakan tarif mechanism juga. Kalau kita tengok strategi di Singapura, dia satu punitive. Punitive means that they really punish you in terms of financial. Yang keduanya dia dari segi volunteer. Volunteer ni maknanya kita reduce water dan sebagainya. Dan yang sangat pentingnya kita make it enjoyable kepada masyarakat, so that masyarakat tahu ini tanggungjawab dia. Jadi air yang kita ada tu barulah air sungai kita ni bersih. Sebab bila kita ekstrak tanpa banyak, yang tinggal tu air yang pekat tu lah, ataupun air yang lebihan yang sikit tu. Sungai kita ni sepatutnya volume dia kena tambah 50% lagi. Cara tambah 50% tu ialah jangan ambil sangat banyak air dari sungai melalui water extraction for drinking purposes. Barulah dapat sungai macam Haji Dr. Asari kat belakang tu jernih.
Okay, Datuk Seri, so I think masa mencumburi kita, they give me up to 11:45. I think there are a lot of this bukan questions lah, comments have been given by the chatters. We will look at it. Walaupun terima kasih banyak Datuk Seri for your time. I think in your presentation and your answers actually give a very good
I will send the
thank you very much
slide to you. Okay, thank you.
So Datuk Seri, we look forward to meeting in the next event. I think you have been very, very close to us, of course, myself personally lah. So I hope that you are in good health, Datuk Sri.
Thank you.
Sihat
Sama-sama.
walafiat. Okay.
Okay.
To the audience, terima kasih semua. I think that's all we can provide for you in the Q&A session. I think we look forward to meet you bila-bila dapat lah anytime. To everyone, I think there are a lot of wishes here. Thank you very much, Datuk Tan Sri, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan.
I will give the slide, Mr. Cho. I will give the slide. I will give the slide to MWA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I pass back to Mira. I think I'm done. So my part, I think, thank you very much. I also like to thank all the audience for their time, and I hope to see them in the next event of MWA. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us in this official launch of the Malaysia International Water Convention 2021 and the MWA Handbook. We look forward to see you at the Malaysian International Water Convention virtually from 20th until 24th September 2021. Thank you and have a great day ahead.
Terima kasih semua.